Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? There's a really cool thing about YouTube. I talked about this a little bit before, but it's this community, and so you get to meet people virtually, and you get to be exposed no matter what your hobbies or interests are. And in this case, we're talking about role-playing games. You get to meet people that have different experiences than you have, different perspectives, different ideas, and you get to check that out, and you get to do it at your own leisure. It's not as fast paced as an actual face-to-face conversation, so you have time to kind of digest what you've heard and kind of think about it and reflect on it. It's not buried like it would be in a forum, with under unending posts where you have to kind of piece together all the parts of what this person was getting at. So you get one person's take on stuff without an argument, and then it's different in a blog too. And part of it's just kind of the human element where they're actually talking to you and you can see inflection and facial expression, or at least hear it. And of course you can drive and you hear stuff in tone of voice. So I dig it. And I get to, not only get different perspectives, but to kind of sort of get to know other people. So anyhow, I've been watching a lot of Runeslingers videos. So I've been kind of, seeing how far down the rabbit hole some of his ideas go. So I want to talk about a little bit about, he's brought up this topic of immersion and simulationism, or being simulationist and immersion. And that immersion is not something, a word I would have normally used, but it had me thinking about it, because normally I don't think about how immersive I'm getting in a role-playing setting. So, that's an avenue for me to kind of look at a little bit more. I certainly agree with most of what he's saying. I like, a situation where I feel and the other players seem to be involved in the game. And it's not just a poker game and a lot of bantering, but we're really kind of getting not necessarily into character as actors, but taking on the perspectives of the person we're playing and not looking at our character sheet. Which is one. Incidentally, side tangent. One of the reasons I like simple systems is as a player, I like to be not want to have to look at that anymore. I played a game at a con recently, a game called Innomine, which I just wasn't that familiar with. And depending on it's not really class-based, but depending on what kind of angel you are and who your archangel is, there's a whole bunch of different things in terms of abilities and powers and motivations and things you should and shouldn't do. And it's hard to remember all that stuff. So I was just getting to learn the nuances of my character and also the nuances of the other characters at the table. So it was a little less intuitive. I tried to get into character as much as I possibly could. But I digress, as I'm fond of doing. But, I want to talk a little bit about, asking questions, in character and out of character. And this is probably maybe I'll make it a VR to that video he posted that had me thinking about this particular subject. And I'll at least I'll put the link down, if nothing else, in the comments right down there. So anyhow, he made some good points about asking questions in character versus out of character. And instead of saying, hey, Mr. DM, is this bridge made of wood? Asking another character, hey, can you see what that bridge is made out of? That sort of thing. So you remained immersed. And my experience has been this is a snapshot of me right now in terms of what I prefer, or what I'm comfortable with, or what I gravitate towards, or what I just kind of naturally do. And I like a bit of a mix, in terms of sometimes having some out of character discussion. Not so much for tactical stuff. I in terms of hey, who's got the best sneak or something like that. For me that kind of breaks the game a little bit, becomes more of a gaming exercise, which is okay. But I prefer to be more immersed, I guess is the word, in the whole situation. But every once in a while, to me, there's a point where I feel comfortable with out of character questions and out of character discussion with each other. And I remember this one game I played on dragonsfoot.org, years ago. It was like 5-6 years ago, and I finally had to stop about right around a little over 4 years ago, because my life had turned upside down. There were some things I really needed to take care of, which is why I stopped making videos, by the way. And hopefully I emerged a much better person. I know I did. But anyhow, I had this game experience for at least a year or so of a play-by-post game. And I think 4 people in the game really kind of stuck with me. And we're still friends on Facebook to this day. And I had the privilege of playing with some really good gamers. And we had an out of character discussions every once in a while. And literally, if you said something out of character, was OOC. And then and you said what you were going to say to each other or whatever. And it was in a different color. So it was very clear that this was what was going on. And, to me, that didn't break verisimilitude at all. Sometimes it was just stuff we needed to do. To comment to each other, hey, what do you think? And sometimes it was a little bit of like just a, haha. The example I think of when I was watching this video of his, and I was thinking about this a lot, was, I'm not old enough to have actually seen in the theaters the Bing Crosby and Bob Hope movies during the wartime. Okay, I'm not that old. But I certainly watched them back when there was only 4 channels on TV, and every once in a while it'd be Bob Hope Week or whatever. And I don't know if you've had the experience of watching those videos, but at some point during the picture, because they used to call it the picture, they would turn towards the camera right during a scene and say, well, we've still only got 20 minutes left in this picture. We better get on with it. And they'd totally break character. And they would have an out-of-character discussion for a second. And to me, sometimes that's how I envision, our little out-of-character discussions at the gaming table. That part doesn't bother me. It certainly bothers me when we're all just, or at least most of us aren't really paying attention, and becomes more, like I say, a poker game. But maybe I'll talk about immersion a little bit more. And my takes on it, but I'll let his stuff speak for itself for the time being. So happy gaming, and I'll talk to you later.